Kevin stood there, feeling numb as the dirt hit Sophia's coffin with a dull thud. The minister droned on, trying to comfort the mourners, but his words rang hollow. "Dad, are you okay?" his daughter whispered, squeezing his hand. He nodded mechanically, unable to speak. His son-in-law's hand rested on his shoulder, a silent pillar of support. At 49, Kevin never imagined he'd be burying his wife. He always thought he'd go first, given his risky job and lifestyle. Now, he felt ancient. After the funeral, people swarmed around him at the reception, offering condolences and reminiscing about Sophia. But their words felt empty, meaningless. "Sophia was such a wonderful person," one well-wisher said. "Yeah, she was," Kevin replied flatly, wishing they would all just leave him alone. 20 years of marriage, 2 kids living their own lives now. His daughter, pregnant with his first grandchild. His son, killing it in New York's financial district. And here he was, suddenly single. The house buzzed with about 40 people, all talking and trying to show support. Kevin felt suffocated. "I need some air," he muttered to no one in particular, slipping out to the backyard. Just as he closed the back gate, planning a quick escape, a car pulled up. It was Olivia, Sophia's younger sister, the last person he wanted to see. "Hey, Kevin," Olivia called out, her voice hesitant. "How are you holding up?" Kevin's jaw clenched. "Everyone's inside talking about Sophia," he said tersely. "I'm going for a walk." He turned away, hoping she'd take the hint. But Olivia, true to form, breezed past him into the backyard. Kevin sighed, relieved to be rid of her, if only for a moment. There was a chasm between them now, one he wasn't sure could ever be bridged. As he walked, memories of the past few years flooded his mind. How had it all led to this? Life, relentless as a river, had swept them along to this point. Kevin's mind drifted back to when he first met Sophia at her workplace, an insurance company where he'd gone to renew his policies. "Hi, I'm Sophia," she'd said with a warm smile. "I'll be handling your renewals today." Little did he know that simple interaction would change his life forever. He found excuses to return, drawn by her infectious laugh and kind eyes. Finally, he mustered the courage to ask her out. "Sophia, I was wondering, would you like to grab coffee sometime? Outside of work, I mean." She'd blushed, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "I'd love to, Kevin." Their love had blossomed quickly, leading to marriage and 2 beautiful children. For years, life was perfect. But then, 2 years ago, everything changed. Olivia started inserting herself into their lives more and more. "Sophia, you need to get out more," Olivia would say. "Let's have a girls' night." At first, it was just Wednesdays. Then Fridays too. Soon, Olivia was monopolizing all of Sophia's free time. Kevin tried to voice his concerns. "Honey, don't you think you're spending a lot of time with Olivia lately?" Sophia would brush him off. "Don't be silly, Kevin. She's my sister. She needs me right now." But it felt like Sophia was slipping away, bit by bit. Every attempt Kevin made to spend time with her was thwarted by Olivia's presence. Their once open communication became strained. Kevin couldn't express his feelings without Sophia getting defensive. "Why are you being so hard on Olivia?" She'd snap. "Can I have a life outside of this house?" Kevin retreated, burying himself in his own interests while Sophia did her own thing. On the rare nights she was home, they felt like strangers. Then came that fateful night that shattered everything. Kevin was in the garage, tinkering with a project, when Sophia left with Olivia around 6:30. He made himself a solitary dinner, eating in the garage as he worked. At 11, he went inside, expecting to find Sophia in bed. But she wasn't home. The answering machine's light blinked accusingly. Kevin hit play, dreading what he might hear. Sophia's voice filled the room. "Hey, babe. I've had a bit too much to drink, so I'm crashing at Olivia's. See you in the morning. Love you." Kevin's stomach churned with anger and jealousy. He missed their conversations, their laughter, their playful moments. All of it seemed so far away now. He deleted the message, feeling more alone than ever. Then, on impulse, he dialed Sophia's cell phone. After 9 rings, a man's voice answered, "Hello?" Kevin could hear men's voices in the background. It sounded like quite a party. Kevin's blood ran cold. "Who is this? Where's Sophia?" The man chuckled. "I am her husband. Sophia's a bit occupied at the moment. Why don't you call back around noon tomorrow?" Kevin's heart started to race when he heard someone's moans in the background. "Put her on the phone." "Now," Kevin growled. "Sorry, mate. She's busy," the man sneered before hanging up. Kevin stared at the phone in disbelief. What the hell was going on? He redialed frantically, but no one picked up. After the 3rd attempt, he grabbed his car keys and stormed out, driving straight to Olivia's house. But when he arrived, the place was dark and deserted. Kevin realized with a sinking feeling that he had no idea where Sophia really was or who she was with. He drove home, his emotions a volatile mix of fury and fear. Was Sophia there by choice? Or had something more sinister happened? Back at the house, Kevin poured himself a stiff drink, trying to make sense of it all. His mind conjured up awful scenarios, each worse than the last. By morning, he woke with a splitting headache and a mouth like sandpaper. He showered and downed some aspirin, catching sight of his haggard reflection in the mirror. "Who are you?" he muttered to his reflection, barely recognizing the lost, broken man staring back at him. He forced down some toast, anxiously waiting for Sophia to return or call. The hours crawled by agonizingly slowly. Around 2 p.m., he heard a car pull into the driveway. Kevin's heart raced as he peered out the window. Sophia stepped out, looking stunning in one of his favorite dresses, a slinky, tight-fitting number that showed plenty of leg and a hint of cleavage. She breezed in, all smiles. "Hey, babe. Sorry, I didn't make it home last night. Olivia and I had a few too many, and I was too wiped to drive." Kevin's blood boiled at her carefree attitude. "Where were you really, Sophia?" Her smile faltered. "What do you mean? I told you, I crashed at Olivia's." "Cut the crap," Kevin snapped. "I called your phone last night." A man answered. "Said you were occupied." "Want to explain that?" Sophia's face drained of color. She stumbled, missing the chair and collapsing to the floor. "Oh God," she whispered, covering her face as tears began to stream down her cheeks. Her reaction told Kevin everything he needed to know. Unable to bear it any longer, he stormed out to the garage, locking the door behind him and cranking up the stereo to drown out his thoughts. For hours, he raged, smashing things and cursing Olivia, Sophia, and the mysterious man who had answered her phone. When he finally cooled off and turned off the music, the crushing reality of his crumbling marriage hit him full force. Olivia had driven a wedge between them, and now it seemed Sophia had sought comfort elsewhere, possibly with multiple men. Kevin realized with a sinking feeling that he might have lost Sophia for good. Divorce loomed on the horizon, a specter he never thought he'd have to face. When he returned to the house, it was empty. He assumed Sophia had gone to Olivia's, but then he noticed her dresser drawers standing open, nearly empty. The closet was bare. She had left him. Kevin sat on the edge of the bed, head in his hands, wondering how it had all gone so wrong. Kevin spent the next week in a haze, throwing himself into work to avoid thinking about his disintegrating home life. Each night, he'd drink himself into a stupor, barely managing to shower and drag himself to the office the next morning. "Dude, you look like hell," his coworker, Mike, commented one day. "Everything okay?" Kevin just grunted in response, not ready to share his pain with the world. By Saturday night, he was convinced Sophia had left him for another man. The thought made his stomach churn. In a moment of drunken courage, he decided to call Olivia's house. His hands shook as he dialed the number. "Hello?" Olivia's voice answered, sounding surprised. "Where's Sophia?" Kevin demanded without preamble. "What? I thought she was with you," Olivia replied, confusion evident in her tone. Kevin's heart sank. "She hasn't been home all week. I thought she might be with the guy who answered her phone last Friday." "What guy?" "Kevin, what are you talking about?" Olivia sounded genuinely shocked. He filled her in on the events of that night, his words slurring slightly from the whiskey. "Oh my God," Olivia breathed. Kevin, I swear I had no idea. Sophia showed up at my place last Saturday afternoon in what I call her want to get laid dress. She was freshly showered and acting weird. Kevin's grip tightened on the phone. Go on. I told her about some strange man answering her phone, and she just broke down crying. I went to the garage to get something, and when I came back, she had packed up her stuff and left. I haven't heard from her since. Kevin felt like he'd been punched in the gut. So you have no idea where she is? No, I'm sorry. Kevin, I think I really messed up. I pushed Sophia too hard to go out and have fun. I never meant for this to happen. Yeah, well, it did, Kevin spat. Your meddling cost me my wife, Olivia. I hope you're happy. He slammed the phone down so hard it cracked, adding a broken phone to his list of problems. Kevin slumped in his chair, the same spot where Sophia had collapsed on him not long ago. He sat there for hours, lost in his misery. By morning, he knew he'd made a mistake staying up all night drinking. The hangover hit him like a freight train. As he nursed a cup of coffee, trying to quell his nausea, he heard a car pull up in the driveway. Looking out the window, he saw his son James getting out of the car. Kevin's heart sank. He wasn't ready for this conversation. James knocked on the door. Dad? You in there? Kevin reluctantly opened the door. Hey, son. What brings you by? James looked worried. Dad, what's going on? Mom showed up at my place a week ago, crying her eyes out. She wouldn't tell me anything except that you were going to leave her. What happened? Kevin sighed heavily. It's complicated, James. Your mom and we're having some problems. She left me, packed her things, and disappeared. James looked shocked. She what? Dad, why didn't you call me? Honestly? I didn't know where she was until just now. This is the first I'm hearing about her being at your place. James ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. She's been there all week, refusing to let me call you. She was afraid I'd hunt her down or something. Dad, what the hell is going on? Kevin felt exhaustion settling into his bones. It's a long story, son. Let's sit down. They moved to the living room, Kevin collapsing onto the couch while James perched on the edge of an armchair. Last week, your mom went out with Aunt Olivia, like she's been doing a lot lately, Kevin began. She missed my call, and, well, things got complicated. James leaned forward. Complicated how? Kevin took a deep breath. I called her cell later that night. A man answered. He said some things that made me think your mom might be cheating on me. James's eyes widened. What? No way. Mom would never. I thought so too, Kevin said bitterly. But when she came home the next day, her reaction, it wasn't good, James. She ran before we could really talk about it. James sat back, looking stunned. I can't believe this. Mom cheating? It doesn't make sense. Kevin shrugged helplessly. I don't know what to believe anymore. I haven't spoken to her since that day. James was quiet for a moment, processing. Then he stood up. We need to talk to her. All of us. Will you come with me to my place? Kevin hesitated. I don't know if that's a good idea, son. I'm still pretty angry. Dad, please, James pleaded. We need to sort this out as a family. My girlfriend Samantha will be there too. She's good at mediating this kind of stuff. After a moment, Kevin nodded. All right, but I'm not making any promises about how this will go. James looked relieved. That's all I'm asking. Let's go. As they drove to James's place, Kevin felt a mix of emotions churning inside him. Part of him still loved Sophia, despite everything. But could they ever move past this? When they arrived, James parked and they went inside. Sophia was sitting on the couch, looking small and vulnerable. A young woman Kevin assumed was Samantha sat beside her. Sophia stood up when they entered, her eyes red-rimmed from crying. Kevin, she said softly. I'm so sorry. Kevin felt the anger bubbling up inside him. He clenched his fists, trying to keep his cool. Sorry for what, exactly? For cheating on me? For running away? Sophia flinched at his words. I know I messed up. I never meant for any of this to happen. Well, it did happen, Kevin snapped. You threw away 20 years of marriage for what? A night of fun with some random guys? James stepped between them. Whoa, let's all take a breath here. We need to talk this out calmly. Samantha stood up, her voice gentle but firm. Why don't we all sit down? We can take turns speaking without interrupting each other. Okay? Kevin nodded grudgingly, taking a seat across from Sophia. The tension in the room was palpable. Samantha looked at Sophia. Why don't you start by explaining what happened that night? Sophia took a shaky breath. I went out with Olivia, like usual. We went to a new club, and I drank too much. These guys were buying us drinks, dancing with us. They made me feel attractive, carefree. I called Kevin, left a message, and then we went back to their place. Kevin felt sick hearing the details. So you just forgot about me? About our vows? Sophia's eyes filled with tears. I wasn't thinking clearly. I got caught up in the moment, and before I knew it. God, Kevin, I'm so sorry. I hate myself for what I did. James looked uncomfortable. Mom, how could you do this to Dad? Sophia buried her face in her hands. I don't know. I've been feeling so lost lately, so disconnected from everything. But that's no excuse. I know I've ruined everything. Samantha gently interjected. Kevin, how are you feeling hearing all this? Kevin laughed bitterly. How am I feeling? I'm furious. I'm heartbroken. I don't even know who this woman is anymore. Sophia looked up, her face tear-stained. I understand if you want a divorce. I wouldn't blame you. The word hung in the air between them, heavy with finality. Kevin ran a hand over his face. I don't know what I want right now. I just know I can't trust you anymore, Sophia. Samantha spoke up. Trust can be rebuilt with time and effort. The question is, do you both want to try? Sophia nodded eagerly. Yes, absolutely. Kevin, I'll do anything to make this right. Kevin hesitated. I don't know if I can get past this. But maybe we could try counseling or something. James looked relieved. That sounds like a good start. What do you think, Samantha? Samantha nodded. I think counseling could be very helpful. Both individual and couples therapy. Sophia wiped her eyes. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Kevin, I know I hurt you terribly. But I love you. I want to fight for our marriage. Kevin felt torn. Part of him wanted to forgive Sophia, to try and salvage their life together. But another part was still raw with pain and betrayal. I need some time to think, he said finally. This is all too much right now. James stood up. Why don't I take you home, Dad? You can sleep on it and we can talk more tomorrow. Kevin nodded, feeling drained. As he stood to leave, Sophia reached out to touch his arm. Kevin, she said softly. I'm so sorry. For everything. He looked at her, seeing the woman he'd loved for so long beneath the pain and regret. Without a word, he turned and followed James out the door. As they drove home in silence, Kevin wondered if their marriage could ever recover from this. Only time would tell. The next morning, Kevin returned to James's place in a cab, his mind still swirling with conflicting emotions. Sophia was sitting in the same spot, looking like she hadn't moved all night. James and Samantha wore somber expressions, dark circles under their eyes suggesting a sleepless night. Kevin took a deep breath. I've made a decision, he said, his voice gravelly from lack of sleep. Sophia looked up, her eyes wide with apprehension. What? What have you decided? I think you should come home, Kevin said slowly. I can't promise I won't get angry sometimes, but I won't hurt you physically. We need to be together to work through this mess. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. Really? You're willing to try? Kevin nodded. For now, we'll stay in separate bedrooms. We'll take it day by day. That's all I can offer right now. Sophia wiped her eyes. That's more than I deserve. Thank you, Kevin. James looked relieved. I think this is a good start, Dad. Samantha nodded in agreement. It won't be easy, but facing this together is the best way forward. Sophia hesitated, then said, I think we should try counseling. Both together and separately. Kevin agreed. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We've got a lot to work through. Sophia left the room briefly, returning with her packed suitcases. "I'm ready when you are," she said softly. James spoke up. "Want me to drive you guys home?" Kevin shook his head. "My car's in a nearby parking garage. I can drive us." "I'll go get it for you," James offered. "Samantha can drive you two home." As they were about to leave, James dropped a bombshell. "Oh, by the way, I proposed to Samantha last Saturday night. She said yes." Kevin blinked in surprise. "Wow, congratulations. Welcome to the family, Samantha." Sophia echoed the sentiment, though her voice was strained. The drive home was tense and silent, each lost in their own thoughts. The next week was much the same, with the tension growing thicker by the day. Their first counseling appointment loomed on the horizon, and Kevin wasn't sure they'd make it. But they did, barely. The sessions continued, once a week for 8 long months, with additional individual visits. It wasn't easy. There were fights, tears, and moments when they both wondered if it was worth it. One day, Sophia came home from a doctor's appointment looking deeply troubled. Kevin felt his stomach drop. "What's wrong?" Sophia shook her head, unable to speak. She went for a walk alone, leaving Kevin to worry. When she returned, she sat Kevin down in the living room. "Kevin, I have some bad news," she said, her voice trembling. Kevin's heart raced. "What is it? Talk to me, Sophia." Sophia broke down crying. "I'm sick, Kevin. Really sick. They said I have cancer." Kevin felt like the floor had dropped out from under him. "Cancer? But how? Where?" Sophia struggled to get the words out. "It started in my ovaries. But it spread. They don't think." Kevin pulled her into his arms, his own tears falling. "We'll fight this, Sophia. Together. There are treatments, right? We'll beat this." Sophia nodded against his chest, but Kevin could feel her doubt. As the weeks passed, that doubt grew. The cancer was aggressive, spreading faster than the doctors had anticipated. One day, Sophia came home from a specialist appointment, her face ashen. "It's beyond fixing, Kevin," she said, her voice hollow. "The cancer's in my lymph nodes, my liver, maybe even my brain." Kevin felt his world crumbling around him. "No, there has to be something else we can try. Some experimental treatment or..." Sophia cut him off. "I don't want to die, Kevin," she sobbed. "I love you so much. I wasted so much time, ignored the symptoms. It's my fault." Kevin held her close, his own tears falling. "It's not your fault, Sophia. Don't say that. I only have a few months left," Sophia whispered. "I'm so sorry, Kevin." Kevin's voice broke as he asked, "What can I do for you now?" Sophia looked up at him, her eyes filled with love and regret. "Just hold me, Kevin. Love me and hold me. That's all anyone can do for me now." So he did. They faced this new challenge together, pushing aside their past anger and pain. Despite everything, they had generally been a happy couple, and Kevin tried to keep a positive attitude for Sophia's sake. There was a brief moment of hope when they thought the treatments might be working, but it was short-lived. Sophia outlasted the doctor's original estimate by a few months, a small victory in their losing battle. When she passed away, she was surrounded by Kevin and their children, holding onto the love they had managed to rebuild in her final months. In the aftermath of Sophia's death, Kevin found himself grappling with a deep-seated anger towards Olivia. He knew it wasn't entirely rational, but he couldn't help feeling that Olivia had led Sophia down a path that robbed them of precious time together. Nearly a whole year had been wasted, a year that could have been spent loving each other instead of struggling to overcome Sophia's mistake. Kevin couldn't shake the nagging thought that if things had been different, maybe the cancer could have been caught earlier. As he stood in the empty house, surrounded by memories of Sophia, he wondered if he would ever be able to forgive Olivia, or if this resentment would haunt him forever. The sound of the doorbell jolted Kevin from his thoughts. He opened the door to find Olivia standing there, looking uncertain. "Hey, Kevin," she said softly. I wanted to see how you're doing." Kevin felt a surge of anger, but forced himself to remain calm. "I'm managing," he said curtly. Olivia nodded, fidgeting with her purse strap. "Listen, I know you probably hate me right now, But I loved Sophia too. I never meant for any of this to happen. Kevin sighed heavily. I know you didn't, Olivia. But intentions don't change what happened. Is there anything I can do? Olivia asked, her voice small. Kevin shook his head. Just, give me some time. I'm not ready to forgive you yet. Olivia nodded, tears in her eyes. I understand. I'm here if you need anything, okay? As she turned to leave, Kevin felt a small part of his anger dissipate. Maybe, in time, he could learn to let go of